Oh, hello there. Welcome to the next episode of The Problem with Everything. This episode has a number. Some people infer meaning from numbers, such as through Kabbalah and numerology. The number of this next episode is either 5 or 6 or 7. I'll find out later when I post it. Hang on, the last one was knowledge. Before that was judgment. Before that was work. Knowledge, judgment, work, illness, loss. So we're up to number 6. Hooray! Roku. Or, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're up to 6. Episode 6. Okay. As one of the German Volk, or Wolk, however they say their bloody V's and W's. I always get them mixed up anyway. So this episode is about law. Not L-O-R-E, lore, but law. L-A-W. Not L-A-L-A-W. That would be la law. Not lalu either. That sounds like nonsense, and law is not nonsense, actually. There are different types of laws. Take, for instance, the laws regarding marriage. Now, as a bloke, as a mongrel, as a dog, how does a dog form a union? I think it's a matter of chasey, isn't it? How does a man form a union? I think that's a matter of chasey, isn't it? How does a woman play chasey? I don't know. But it ends up as a matter of union. Doesn't matter which two parts become joined to form a union, in fact. For I am an advocate of otherness. I am an advocate of difference. Or an advocate for otherness and an advocate for difference. And I think there's difference enough between me and any other man to make it a fair union indeed, were I to join with him, if I so choose. Same with any woman. If she joins as Sappho was said to have joined with other women, however they do. I don't know. I was never on Lesbos at that time, though I've read a few fragments and enjoyed them and been quite enamoured with Sappho, and them that love her as well. And I'm quite a cunning linguist as well, to be honest. And happily so. Now, law of man has governed marriage for some time, I guess. But not always. Dears, not always. In the beginning, well, I don't think there was a births, deaths and marriages operation at that point in the beginning. And I think a man and a woman, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, a dog and a dog, or whatever you like, would probably have just arranged their own unions. And this, to me, is something of an inescapable fact about law, is that law is inescapable, in fact. And once you have joined with someone, you've joined with them. And I have done that. And I carry the cost of it, whatever that cost is, whether it be a beneficial or detrimental cost, who's to say. But I carry that cost nonetheless. Now, until 2014, none of those unions, those actual divine marriages, so to speak, were codified in human law. The best they could come up with was a bit of Latin saying de facto, as in fact he is married, but de jure he is not married. And they get a bit confused about that, because they forget that in fact the law that we need to really concern ourselves with is more like a karmic law, which none of us have much say over, actually. Not with our legislative assemblies, our judiciaries and all that, the enforcers and so on. Now, what is indeed the problem with law? And I would say the problem with law, so to speak, is when it is not law, right? Say, for instance, an unjust law. Say, for instance, a law which goes against the greatest good. Now, the greatest good admits of only one particular thing. That which is not greater than it might not be considered greater than it, right? Otherwise English breaks, and I'm pretty sure other languages do too. the greatest thing is that which there is not anything greater. And if you are fond of reading, there's a slim book called The Social Contract by Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who wrote around the time of the French Revolution, I infer, and he said that the greatest good is, let me get this right, he said it actually consists of a pair of things in union. How fitting. Now, please do read this and check it up. It's not that hard to read, it's good to read, and do check this up, and I'm just going to try to remember it, and pretty fucking sure I've got it right, but might not, you know. So, liberty and equality. These pair of things joined together are unbeatable as the greatest good, because they balance each other. Our liberties are limited only as much as is necessary to ensure equality between us. It's a simple balancing act, and one that I'm very happy was stated so firmly so long ago. Now that I would consider to be law, though in fact it's not actually passed by any act of Parliament, probably. And that's a just law, you know. But an unjust law would be one that contravenes either equality or liberty without balancing it in the other direction. An unjust law might be one which discriminates against a subset of the population. Maybe one that is different in skin color, maybe one that is different in behavior, one that is perhaps different in other activities which is no one else's business, one that is perhaps very hard to distinguish, generally. But say, for instance, a subset that was distinguished based on their choice. You know, such discriminatory legislation is unjust, and therefore I assert that it is no law whatsoever. And one of the problems with law is when unjust people make unjust laws, and then rather than accepting difference and improving their situation by listening patiently and improving the coherence of their efforts, they instead resort to frothing at the mouth, speaking and ranting madly, like that gonna do this, gonna do that fella in the Northern Territory, conflating things left, right and centre, I would say, making it very difficult for such a man to think. And if one does not think, what does one do? Well, I don't know, but I don't know. But perhaps one doesn't make very thoughtful actions or very thoughtful attempts at legislation. Yeah. Well, this is a short one, isn't it? Unjust law is no law at all, and that's a bit of a problem for us. I've got lots more to say about it. I mean, it impacts on many things at many levels. Perhaps we'll come back around to it, but I think that for episode 6 we'll just stay a little bit shy of 9 minutes. Thank you, dear listener, for listening. Thank you, dear looker, for looking. Thank you, dear honey, for being a honey. And thank you, dear YouTube, for not censoring. All right.